Hello, welcome to Inside the Data on Inside the Birds. I'm Geoff Mosher. I'm with our data and analytics expert, Sam Finkel, and Cy. It's the final Inside the Data of the regular season. I imagine, Sam, you're good to go for the playoffs, right?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. Because, it could be a long run like it was last year. It could be. So it's been an exciting year, sort of. Defensively, yes. Offensively, data analytics, maybe not so much, but we've really uncovered a lot of interesting things. And what I like about this season wrap-up episode is, no, we're not going to focus on the season finale with a bunch of backups playing. We're going to go look at the entire season analytically as a whole. And you put together some really good, we talked about it beforehand. We're not going to go through every single player on the rosters like EPA per this, per that, or else we'd be here forever. But we went through some really vital team statistics and analytics, and then also some individual ones that tell an important story.
Absolutely.
Did you burn the candle at both ends for this one, or was it? There's one stat I'm gonna, when we get to it, I'm gonna say, how long did it take you to come up with that? Okay, because I think you'll know when we get there. But did
Sure.
this in general?
I'm curious which one you're talking about. This would be interesting for me. But I this was a good study. There were some that were a little bit surprising, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And then honestly, a lot of it made sense from what we've seen just watching.
Right.
What I've seen just watching. But some of the statistics were a little bit surprising how comparable the Eagles were, especially to their opponents.
All right, give us an appetizer, and when we get to it, we'll focus more in on it. Which category maybe surprised you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, first off, the average drive time, I guess at first is a little bit surprising because the Eagles are at 252 and their opponents are at 251. And I think what kind of explains that, and the play differential is a little bit more, right? So the opponent's at 6.2 and the Eagles are at 5.76. Mm-hmm. And I think what caused that difference, to be honest with you, is how long it took the Eagles to actually get a play off.
Yes.
So despite the fact that they're calling almost one more play than the Eagles, the fact that they have the snap off with like a second to go at least probably explains that. But seeing it actually visually was a little bit shocking at first.
You watched the season finale, right?
Of course, yeah.
Did you feel that the ball got snapped? They got out of the huddle and snapped the ball quicker?
Yes.
Me too.
Definitively. And the data shows that too.
Yeah, and I was surprised by that because I don't think it's only been a Jalen Hurts thing, but if you were obviously to make a deduction on it, right, different quarterback, but obviously, and I think they ran the offense the same way. I mean, they were mainly shotgun, a few under center. It wasn't like they did anything formationally or strategically radically different with the backups in, but that did stand out to me, and it made me just wonder about the operation as a whole, and maybe if there's a disconnect there. But
yeah,
that's for postseason discussion. And when we get to this in your data point, we'll go through it more. Absolutely. So let's go right ahead and see what you have here put together. And we always start, as we will, with the sort of the opponents versus the Eagles. This is the recap of the entire season as opposed to just one game. So I guess what fascinated me, Sam, is, and I don't know if I should be surprised by it. I guess if we were doing this last year, I think there would have been a lot more green on the side of the Eagles, but because of circumstances this year, it's a little more split.
Yeah, definitely.
But close to your point. Like in many like average yards per game, 311 compared to 314 is what are we talking about? 3 yards a game. That's not a huge deal there.
Right. 100%. And as you can see, the stats that I was talking about are on the bottom of this chart, which I guess might as well start there for a sec, just a little bit of continuance.
Sure.
Basically, also the average yards per drive probably could be yellow too. It's 29.3 for the Eagles and 29.4 for the opponents, but the Eagles scored actually higher than their opponents on their drives at 2.0 versus 1.81.
So that to me is reflective of the fact that the Eagles had a pretty good red zone offense this year, a very good red zone offense this year. They didn't get there as much as other teams, but their percentage was pretty high. And then conversely, I believe, I don't have the number in front of me, I thought the Eagles red zone defense was pretty good too.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were the points I was kind of talking about. So just, I guess with the context of that, all those data points explaining the average drive for the Eagles versus their average drive of the opponents, that was a little bit surprising, some of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's I probably should have said that in the intro of what we were talking about, but
No, I only asked you to whet the appetite a little. This is now we get right into the main course, so that's good.
no doubt.
Eagles had the ninth best red zone defense this year, by the way. Pretty good.
Not surprising at all. So
yeah. In fact, maybe one of the slight improvements from last year, because if you recall, their low red zone defense was not great, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson was guilty of a lot of rub route touchdowns allowed, especially the first half of the year. But go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple reasons why he is no longer on the roster. So
yeah,
but that's tough. But let's go back to the top and go down. Okay. As you said, their points for is higher than their opponents, 379 to 325. The average points per game, like what you said, the 3 points higher. Yards, the opponents exceeded them, not by much. Average yards per game exceeded by also 3 yards. There you go. The plays, they had 70 more plays their opponents. The yards per play, Eagles actually exceeded their opponents mostly because they had to. They had to make the most of their limited opportunities. The Eagles won the turnover battle overall. They lost the penalty battle, surprisingly. No, not for anybody.
No, that's a really alarming stat, by the way. It's one of those under-discussed alarming stats by the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty significant difference for sure. The opponents had about 3 more drives, exactly 3 more drives than the Eagles at 177 to 180. And the scoring percentage was exactly the same, which was a little bit surprising, especially when you look in the context of the average drive. And then the turnover percent was lower. So, and that's reflected in the team total turnovers lost. So,
not only the penalty, I guess I don't want to beat a dead horse. We all know the offense struggled this year. We all know it. We all know about the third down issues that we'll talk about. But when you put these numbers side by side for an entire season, and you take into an account that the Eagles have the highest paid offense in the National Football League, one of the highest paid quarterbacks, one of the highest paid running backs, 2 of the highest paid receivers. And even with the pay cut, Dallas Goedert is still among the higher paid tight ends, right? And then, of course, the offensive line, where 4 of the 5 guys are on good contract extensions, to have been outgained by your opponents this year, and not because your defense is bad, right? That this is not a defensive stat, is shocking. To be honest with you, it's not shocking at week 18 here or going into the playoffs because we've seen it all year. But if someone would have presented your breakdown to any Eagles front office person, coach, fan, media member prior to the season and said, this is what it's going to look like, you would have gotten laughed out of the building.
Exactly. 100%.
So it's worth really discussing, like, wow, what a drop,
Yeah, it's a pretty significant drop. And it's not just the statistics that show it. I mean, we have some more statistics that will show it. And honestly, if you watched any of the games or any of the film, you'd see it right there.
Sure. So they finished +6 in the turnover ratio, correct? Like 15-21. So they're +6.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember how that compares to last year. I'm going to try to see if I can quickly bring that up, because I thought it was really in the playoffs last year that they had I think it was 13-4 takeaway ratio. I can probably look that up as well. But last year, the Eagles were +11. That's what it was, +11. They had 26 takeaways and 15 giveaways. So this year, they're at +6. So they were not as takeaway driven this year, as good as the defense was. The offense the offense turned the ball over just about the same time, right? 15. Would I say 15 last year? Giveaways?
That is 15 this year, so
yeah, 15 this year and 15 last year, so that's the same. I think that's kind of interesting just going into the playoffs, because remember, last year there was nobody even close to the Eagles in turnover differential in the playoffs. They were +12. The next best team was the Bills. They were +4. All right, so the Eagles had 13 takeaways. The Eagles had almost as many takeaways in the playoffs in 4 games, right? They played 4 games than they had the entire year. Folks, that doesn't happen
It's
every year. I'm not saying the Eagles aren't going to create takeaways here in the playoffs, and they very well might have another good takeaway year postseason. But to be that high, to have that many, was a real testament to how well they were playing. But you can't live off that. My point is, Sam, and I think you'd agree, they really need the offense to just snap out of it. They can't rely on flip fields and 3 turnovers like they did in the NFC Championship game. I don't think that's realistic to me.
Yeah, and a lot of it feels kind of like self-imposed issues
Right.
with the offense. I mean, the fact that they can't get the ball off fast enough, and it just gives the defense an extra second to jump. Like they know when the play is coming, so they can time their jumps. They shoot themselves in the foot. The play sequencing still has not been great. The play calling still has not been great.
Right.
The offensive line has not been great. So there's just things like that make it difficult.
Which segues really well into our favorite stat that we like to look at every
Is it
week.
our favorite? Is it really?
Our favorite one to not really like to talk about?
No doubt, but it's done. I mean, we're done.
Definitely, yeah, the most telling run, right? I mean, if you wanted to find one definable stat about the Eagles' offense this year, this would be it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I wanted to give some perspective here, because we give the percentage all the time, but I want to explain to people where they rank. So last year, as your data shows here, the Eagles converted 42%, 41.7% of their third downs. That was good, not great. It was 10th in the NFL. So this year they're about 4 points lower, maybe almost closer to 5 points lower at 37.1, which is outside the top 10, of course. So they've really fallen there, Sam.
They really have. And their opponents have risen.
Yes, their opponents have risen. So this is it's just all a recipe to kind of wonder how far can this thing really go before the raw data, which really can tell you who you are, catches up to you.
Yep, 100%. It's not great. It's not great evidence, really.
Right.
So,
and then of course the most damning stat of it all. And we joked that in late November and December, when they started to win a few games, it started to tilt more positively. But then by the time the season was over, you have the Eagles just basically living in third and long, right? 116 snaps of third and long compared to, I'm going to go with 94. My quick math tells me, of third and short and third and medium combined.
It's not
That's
good.
crazy.
It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. It just shows that, they didn't really find their offensive identity. They really never did. And the play calling and the play sequencing is not setting them up well for third down. You
Right.
can't stay on schedule if the play calls don't, mesh, if they don't go well together.
Correct.
It's tough.
Right. Now the opponents also in third and long over 100 times. So that's a good thing for the defense.
Yeah.
Their conversion rate at 25.7 is what you would expect when you're in third and long all the time. So that's good too.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles outperformed their opponents on third and mid and third and long because they had to most of the time. They had to.
Now, maybe another under-discussed, and this isn't nearly as big as some of the things we were talking about offensively, but third and short percentage, opponents converted 64%, just under this year, as opposed to just under 59% last year. So the Eagles not as tight on third and short, right, as they were in the past. As they were last year, or no, as they are, I guess,
as the opponents.
Yeah,
their last year data, they definitely were better than 59%.
Right.
Short.
Right. So just another area. Then we go to our pie chart here.
Yeah, that's just showing the frequency. So that's not the conversion rate. That's just
correct. Just the frequency of existing in third down, which 55% of the time. So more often than not, they are in third and long.
Yep.
When they're in third down scenarios.
Yep.
Crazy, man. It's crazy.
You can't say you're terribly surprised.
I know that when you did this at one point, you put other teams in the same that were in the same category of how often they were in third and long at over 50%, and it was like Cleveland, Tennessee, right? The Eagles, like they were in
the Jets.
And the Jets, yeah. So this is what the Eagles offense data and analytically has been comparable to this year, those teams, which is yikes. All right, here, Sam, we're going to go a little bit to the advanced stats of the offense. Now, here's where there's a stat that I'm like, how long did it take you to research that? Can you think about which one?
I'm not sure. No.
Because it's a stat that you yourself sort of created. The net
net
time
time before
before
pressure.
the fact, net time before pressure that the Eagles ranked 24th means to me that you had to take your formula and apply that to the 31 other teams.
Yeah, I did. But it was easy. I just exported the data into an Excel spreadsheet and then just did it and then ranked them.
Dude, I got to hang out with you more. I probably am now having you describe that. Like, I know I could know to do it, but wouldn't think to do it. So I would literally probably just go to each team and be doing the mathematic. And it's just a simple, right? Like addition or subtraction.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But yet, nonetheless, if a spreadsheet can do it for you in 10 seconds, then I suppose that's a lot easier. But I would
that was super easy. But I wanted, which is okay. I could have done time to throw and time to pressure as ranked, and I decided not to because I think you need them combined to really comprehensively understand, and that's why I created the stat, the really advanced statistic of net time before pressure. Regardless, I just thought that it would be more compelling to show that part of it. So
fair. And what do you make of the Eagles being minus 0.02 there? I would imagine if you did this last year, the number would be positive.
I don't know if it would be positive last year.
Because of all the sacks that he took, maybe, or
but also like. He is a natural extender. He's not quite Patrick Mahomes, but a lot of the time he's buying time for himself.
Right.
And what constitutes a pressure is not always an objective metric.
Fair.
So I think that is partially part of it. But to the same degree, that it's not necessarily a bad thing to have this as a negative statistic. It means that, you're throwing while pressured, which is not great. But I mean, if you're extending the play and making the most of it, it's palatable, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I mean, some of it, to your point, is you're inviting the pressure by holding on. It's not like your offensive line's been terrible in pass pro, but because of that, you're giving your receivers a little extra time to get open. And obviously that's the case with Jalen a lot of times.
Exactly. So it doesn't necessarily scare me seeing that as a negative number. And honestly, last year's statistic probably also was negative.
True. I'll give a great example. The Bills game, one of his best throws was that rollout to the right where he hit A.J. Brown right on the right sideline. I think it was a third down too. Do you remember that throw where
I do, yeah.
Kind of zipped past the ear of the defender and right into A.J.'s hands. That's an example of he was over 3 seconds on how long he had the ball. And there was some pressure just because he was rolling and the defense was going his way, but he zipped it in there and it made a positive play out of it.
Yeah. Just so you know, the time to pressure last year was 2.84.
Okay.
And the time to throw was 3.05. So actually it was minus 0.21.
Wow. So it got a little, you're right. It was comparable or a little bit better even, right?
Yeah. So, which is kind of what I expected because I think that's just kind of what you get with Jalen Hurts.
Yes, 100%. The EPAs, I mean, we've sort of joked about at some point by the end of the year, they were probably all going to be negative, and now it's not a joke.
Yeah, it's not a joke anymore. But what's interesting is that most offenses were negative. I mean, they were 13th in EPA per play.
Correct.
At negative 0.03.
Right. This is not the worst offense in the league. It's just an average offense.
Yeah. But that's also very interesting that the average offenses are still negative,
that's a great point, Sam. And it really invites this discussion that we can probably have some other time. Or who are the best offenses in your mind that come to the league as far as just being prolific? How many prolific offenses do you think there are in the NFL this year?
Probably 3.
Right, like the Rams, right? I guess the Patriots are somewhat prolific offensively. Yeah, Trey May is an MVP candidate. I think the Cowboys probably have been prolific offensively. They've scored a lot of points this year.
So you just named 1, 2, and 5 on the EPA per play, by the way.
Okay, the fact that the Cowboys have a losing record are in the top. I guess the Cowboys are 5th, I'm guessing, or okay. Who's the 3rd, by the way?
The Buffalo Bills.
Bills, which, by the way, they are not a great offensive team. This is actually going to prove my point more so than I even thought, because they have like two playmakers, Josh Allen and their running back, right?
Mhm.
Their weapons are just pedestrian. But how many awesome defensive teams are there? There's the Broncos, there's the Texans, there's the Eagles, right? There is I'm forgetting an obvious one in the NFC. Oh, the Packers defense has been excellent this year.
With
So
Micah Parsons or without him?
mostly with him, but I mean, they've been a little banged up. Obviously, Jordan Love not playing the last few games changes their offensive calculus. But in general, I think that Jeff Hafley's done a great job. That is
Also the Seahawks.
Oh, duh. How did I not mention the Seahawks? And even the Rams at times have been stifling defensively. So I think that makes sense to me that a negative EPA is going to be average, and most teams are in negative, because I just think there are better defenses this year than there are offenses.
Well, can you guess how many offenses have a positive EPA?
That's a great question. So if the Eagles at -0.03 ranked 13th, I will say 6.
The answer is 9.
9. Okay.
And 10 if you include 0, because
Right.
the Broncos have 0.
Oh, okay. So let's call it 10. 10 don't have a positive one then, right? Or not? No, the Broncos are at 0, so we'll kind of count that as a negative because it's not positive.
Yeah.
So that means 24 of the 32 teams. I'm bad at math. 23 of the 32 teams have a negative or neutral EPA.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's the defense is ahead of the offense this year. It's the way it is.
It really is. But what's even more interesting is there's no team like the fall off from the Broncos to the next team up, which is the Bears and the Colts, is 0 to plus 0.03.
Wow.
So I think that's interesting too.
That is very interesting. All right. Good stuff. That was a good kind of contextual information. Oh, we forgot to get in the running game here. So, average separation 3.4. That's just not great. I mean, 17th for the firepower that the Eagles have,
and again, that's when targeted. So
when targeted,
that's an important context.
Yeah,
they're just not scheming guys open.
I agree. I think that's also more about the offensive scheme right now, and than it is about any individual player.
And you know what's sad? The best stat on here is the fact that they faced a stacked box the 5th most. There's no other stat in the top 10.
Right. So they faced only 4 teams faced more stacked boxes than the Eagles this year?
Yes.
All right. Well, that kind of explains the run success being way down. They're obviously facing a lot more guys in the box.
Yeah.
And then middle of the pack as far as light box. So very interesting stuff. All right. Ready to get through some great passing stats?
Let's do it.
What jumps out at you on Jalen Hurts' passing stats?
I think I have to go to CPOE. I mean, it's a statistic that Hurts led the league in last year. And I think a lot of it, I like to always talk about how this is not just a Jalen Hurts statistic. So first off, let's just go over what CPOE is again. So basically what it is it takes your completion percentage and then it does what an expected quarterback would do is completion percentage. And if you do better than what's expected based on the algorithm that they have, then you would have a positive CPOE. And so what actually counts for that is if a quarterback makes a tough throw and the receiver makes a tough catch. Right. So it's a statistic that accounts for, the incredible playmaking, particularly of Devonta Smith. I think it more than really anyone else, but also AJ Brown and really any of their pass catchers and Jalen Hurts putting the ball in a good spot.
Yeah.
But Hurts, who led last year in CPOE, is 9th this year in CPOE, which I think you really can see in the gameplay. Something I'm interested in that I'm going to check is what his actual CPOE was last year that he led the league in, because I think that context kind of matters. So while I pull that up, is there anything that stood out to you?
Well, it's just sort of fascinates me that in a year where he has 25 touchdowns, which I believe was his most of his career, he gives you a passer rating of 99, which I think is a little higher than his career passer rating as well. That he would make strides like that, but then we would see dips in other categories, which again are not just all Jalen Hurts. It's like CPOE is, I think the scheme, the coaching, all of that, the play calling, puts that into account. I find CPOE and those kind of over expectation stats fascinating, Sam, because they have to be more subjective than other analytical stats, because it's not like it's the same person who created the formula judging every single NFL pass every week, right?
Correct.
There's this army of people who are in charge of deciding what kind of pass is completable easily, routine, and what kind of pass is not. And if it were the same person, then at least if you said, you could say, well, I don't know if this person knows anything about football, but at least it's this person's grading for every single. So whoever's number one, you could say they're one because this guy saw, every person saw it all. Like, I would love to just get more into how the formula works and how people abide by the formula, the ones who are supposed to be judging the passes, but that has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts. It's just how my mind works on the stat by itself.
I want to know the heuristics that they use for sure.
Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts last year was more than double CPOE. He was at 6.3%.
I had a feeling it was I thought it was 7 or 8, but yeah, 6 sounds right.
Yeah. And his EPA per dropback dropped significantly from last year.
Right.
His EPA per dropback last year was 0.12.
Oh, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
To go to 0.01 from point what 1.2?
Yeah, 0.12.
Yeah, that's pretty big. By the way, the interceptions, it says he's ranked 6th with 6. I'm assuming that you mean that's the 6th fewest among starting.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. In all the statistics, I rank it as in like what would be positive or prevalent if it's not like a, this is a good stat. It's like what you face the most. So
right.
It'll always be framed in that viewpoint.
Right. So they're all the whatever best. That's the 9th most touchdowns, the 6th fewest interceptions, the 12th best passer rating.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's get into your Jalen Hurts scrambling stats, because I have a question about it, but I want you to introduce the concept and the information first.
Yeah. So this was one of the NFL Pro statistics that it gave on the insights page of the Eagles.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts scrambled on a career low 19.8% of his dropbacks this season, with 80.9% of his dropbacks ending inside the tackle box, the second highest rate of his career. And then they also gave some statistics about throwing inside the tackle box versus throwing outside the tackle box.
Right.
When Hurts threw inside the tackle box, he had a 68.7% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. When he threw outside the tackle box, he had 46.7% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
I think that part of it is pretty, when you're inside the tackle box and you're well protected, you're going to complete a higher percentage of your passes, throw more touchdowns. When you're running outside the tackle box, I think everybody gets the vision. When you think of Jalen Hurts outside the tackle box, you think of him rolling to the sidelines and then throwing it out of bounds. That was like a staple of their offense, unfortunately, this year.
They call, spread right, roll right, throw out of bounds.
Right. And unfortunately, he also took some sacks this year because I think he thought he was ahead of the line of scrimmage when he ran out of bounds, but he was behind it. And that was kind of annoying because all he had to do was just throw it out of bounds, but he didn't.
Sure. A little bit of awareness issues there. But
so my question, and you may not know because, this is an NFL Pro stat. So when it says he scrambled on a career low 19.8% of his dropbacks, do they separate scrambling from designed runs on a dropback? Okay.
Yes.
So that's really interesting. These are scrambles. So Jalen Hurts has been asked a lot this year, Sam, about why he has run less. And he constantly talks about, I don't think he's trying to throw anybody under the bus, but he says, the coaching, the play calling, he's mentioned Kevin Patullo in that. But Kevin Patullo can call design runs, but he can't call scrambles. He can't say, hey, look, I want you to not hit your first 2 progressions and then run, right? That's not how it works. So this is a Jalen Hurts stat. This is you only put it on Jalen Hurts. And I don't know. I'm not saying that's I'm not putting a positive or a negative on it at all. I'm just saying he has consciously, for whatever reason, not scrambled as much as he used to. And if you were to ask him about this and take the play calling out of it, the design run out, I would love to hear him answer that, because he always seems to answer the question under the umbrella of designed run, not scramble.
Sure. And this honestly is reflected in EPA per dropback too, by the way. It's probably part of the reason it's so low. Because scrambles are reflected in EPA per dropback, but designed quarterback runs are not.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, good. I'm glad that those are separated.
Because a dropback is a passing statistic.
Correct.
And so honestly, the way we charted it when I was at Penn State is we put it as a P for pass and then a Q for quarterback scramble. This is kind of getting off topic, but we would put PI for an incomplete pass, PC for a completed pass, and PQ for scramble. That's how we charted those kind of plays.
Nice.
So pretty much anything you find will have a similar style. Like a scramble counts as a drop back in terms of a pass.
And this was during the Trace McSorley era?
This was it was Trace, but it was more Sean Clifford.
Oh, Sean. Okay. Well, either way, I mean, kind of similar in that you didn't know what you were getting whenever they dropped back. So.
No doubt. And Will Levis, too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit. Well, he could run. I mean, he was an athlete,
yes,
but he was more of a pocket guy. Yeah. All right. So let's get into some of your notable individual stats.
Well, I think the obvious one is 2,000-yard receivers. We talked about that last week.
Yep.
But it actually happened for Devonta Smith now.
Yeah.
What did he play, like 9 snaps to make it happen or something like that?
Yeah, I guess health didn't matter for that. Resting starters didn't matter when there was 1,000 yards on the line.
Yeah, actually, I kind of want your take on that. Did you think they should have rested?
Well, I think you clearly have not been listening to Inside the Birds post-game show or anything else, Sam. It's all right. You've been busy. So I really tried to, like a good journalist, objectively look at it from both sides. I feel still that a second home game in the playoffs is enormous. So I would have personally, if you're just asking me, if you're taking context out of it, right? What would you do in this situation? Okay, I would say I would go for the 2 seed, or at least for a half. And then, if it's a blowout like the Texans did, they just pulled their starters when they realized Jacksonville was blowing out. I think it was the Colts or whoever they played. No, they were playing the Titans, I think. But I think Nick Sirianni is a smart guy. I think he's a good coach. He has some flaws, but he's a really good coach. And what he did is a signal to me of him saying, you guys know my team's beat up, but you really don't know how beat up my team is. Sure. You don't know about my left guard, you know about my center, you know about my right tackle, you know about my defensive tackle, right? Because they've been injured or coming out of games, but you really don't know what it's like to get them prepared to play every single week. So I don't think Nick Sirianni did it just because, because I like rest a little bit more. I think in other scenarios, if he had a healthier team, right, he may have gone for it. Could be wrong, but I think his actions reveal just how much he felt that resting those guys that I mentioned, especially, would help them for a playoff game. And he's probably got a pretty good, as he should, because his road record, not in the playoffs, but his road record in a way bigger sample size of regular season is phenomenal.
Yeah,
that he felt like he can go win a road game with a healthier team. So I get it. I wouldn't have done it. I get it. But I will say, if I was going to do that, then I'm not going to play Devonta Smith just to get him.
That's what I was about to ask you. And then does it reveal context for last year when Saquon could have broken the record? Like, how? I agree. That's interesting.
I made that point.
Is it hypocritical? I don't know.
Well, it's the counterpoint that's been made to me, because everybody has to make everything apples to apples, even when they're not, is that, well, if you played Saquon last year, then you have to play your offensive line. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I understand. The bottom line is health, right? Just health. You want healthy teams. So why would you even jeopardize a wide receiver who, by the way, on that last catch, got sandwiched between 2 defenders while he was reaching up high? I know he didn't get hurt. He could have. You exposed him to it. And A.J. Brown got hurt at the end of the 2023 playoffs. Now they had to play, right? Because they were actually battling it out for the division with the Cowboys. Sure. They lost the game to the Giants. And then I do think they started to pull guys as they were losing, but AJ Brown got hurt. And so it just shows you it could have happened.
And Calcaterra got hurt on a hip drop tackle. And if that was Goddard, that would really hurt the offense. So totally. I understand.
3 guys. So now Toth got hurt, right? Well, what if that was your center? What if it was Cam Jurgens, right? So, By the way, Brandon Johnson got hurt. He's on IR now, and that was your safety. What if it was Epps?
Yeah.
So again, I understand for those reasons. I understand why he rested his starters. But then I don't understand why I also don't understand why he played Jalex Hunt and Jordan Davis for as long as he did. It sort of felt like a half tank, half not tank. And I don't like mixed messaging. Hey, listen, I may not agree with your coaching decision, but if you are 100% convicted in it, okay, then I'm going to get, as a journalist, I give you the benefit of the doubt as long as I think you did it with conviction and with good sense. Like I said, I understand why he rested the guys he rested, but don't halfway it. I just thought that was.
I agree with you completely. I think that's I think the frustration for me lies in that.
All right, good stuff.
But let's go into the statistics. AJ Brown 19th in receiving yards, Devonta Smith 17th. There's a 5-yard difference between them, so it's interesting that they're two places away. Devonta Smith was 6th in receiving EPA in the NFL, 52.5. Goddard was 2nd in touchdowns for all pass catchers. Do you know who's number 1 in touchdowns in the NFL?
For all pass catchers or just tight ends?
All pass catchers.
Number 1 in touchdowns?
Yep.
Who led the NFL in touchdown catches? What is it? A name that is shocking?
No.
Oh, okay. It's not. It wasn't Puka, right?
It was not Puka, but
was it Trey McBride?
Nope.
Was it Jackson Smith and Jigba? No, he only had 7, I think.
Think Rams. Keep thinking Rams.
Was it Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
I know he had a billion 2 and 3 yard touchdowns. I think he set a record for
who else had a billion 2 or 3 yard touchdowns? Dallas
Goedert. Yes, he did. By the way, this number is the one reflection of the one thing of the Eagles offense that evolved since last year, which was their low red zone offense. I thought they did a really good job of creating schemed plays to get Goddard open.
They just can't get there.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's the problem. They just don't get to the red zone enough. But when they did, they really used Goddard creatively, as they should.
Saquon Barkley was 1st in average separation in the NFL when targeted. I don't know what that that doesn't mean much to me, but it was that I was looking through the stats and I saw that. I was like, okay,
that's really funny. Well, because he always would get behind guys and they wouldn't notice, and then Hurts would either hit him or just misfire.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. Now the
notable rushing. Hurts was 6th in rushing yards for QBs, 421. 4th in rushing touchdowns for QBs at 8. I think Trevor Lawrence was ahead of him, which I was a little bit like, huh.
Dude, Trevor had an amazing second half. I got to give him a lot of credit.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not saying Lawrence doesn't have wheels, but I mean, comparatively to Hurts, I'm a little surprised.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley for his down year is 10th in the NFL, by the way, at 1,100 yards. 18th in touchdowns with 7. 8th in 10+ yard rushes, 28, and 3rd in 20+ mile-an-hour runs.
So he can still get to that second level if you just give him the lane. He'll kick it into that gear.
Yeah.
By the way, 10th in rushing yards, 5th in rushing attempts per game.
Yeah, that's
kind of interesting. They did not. So you can sort of make the argument the Eagles were kind of running into that brick wall. They were dead. They were hell bent on running.
They were, and it was not very effective.
It was not.
But I'm just saying, for a down year for Saquon, and he's still top 10. He is 10. I mean, it's not he's not 6, but
right.
Yeah.
Now there's a real incriminating stat here on the offensive line that is sort of obvious, but also not obvious. But
would it happen to be a guard on the Philadelphia Eagles that you're referring to?
Yes, it would happen to be.
Would it happen to be a guard that played particularly well in most of his career and got hurt in the preseason?
It would be. It would be. 5 sacks for a guard, right? Because we always talk about interior linemen and their pressure rates and stuff. They usually have help. Now maybe Juergens probably helps Steen out more when it's a 4-man rush than Dickerson. But still, 5 sacks in 7 quarterback hits is just a lot.
I mean, he hasn't been healthy. I honestly don't think – I think he should have been talking about health. I think he should have been rested way earlier for a couple weeks. And
it's hard to win. So this is the point Adam and I were making on post game when we were really talking about depth. Okay, this has been the thinnest offensive line for the Eagles in years, right? Fred Johnson's done well at tackle, but Pryor, not so great. Toth had one good game where they sort of used him in a certain way to get him outside and the athleticism. But I don't know that you could win if you had to play 4 or 5 games with Toth at left guard while you also don't have Lane Johnson at right tackle. I just don't know. This isn't like 2017 to me when you could pull Steph Wisniewski out and you can pull Big V out and make it to the Super Bowl. That's a big thing for me in the offseason for this team.
But you do that early. You do that in the first 3 weeks. You give him the 3 weeks to like heal, and then he'll be all right.
Do you think that they felt that just because he's coming off a surgery that he's just going to naturally get better and strong? Like he doesn't have an injury. He's just coming off one. He's also bigger. I think he's got to trim down in the offseason. And that might have been because of the knee surgery. You can't do as much cardio, you can't stay in shape. And I do kind of get the point of like, even if our starter is 70% of what he is, he's still better than our backup. I mean, I think a lot of coaches think that way.
I understand the sentiment, but if you have an opportunity to get him to 90% by resting him 2 games, I think you do it. I think that was the obvious thing to do early. Now, hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I don't know. That's just my thought. I'm surprised Jurgen's stats are as good as they are based on the film that I've watched.
Agreed.
I know his run blocking hasn't been great, but
I was just about to say, is there a run blocking metric or analytic? Because I would also
wish there was. They have PFF grades, but we both know how we feel about those.
Yeah.
So, there's no real good run blocking statistic that I've been able to find yet.
Because it would really be interesting to also see the tight ends in this. Because I don't think Goddard has been the blocker that he's been in the past. And certainly we know Grant Calcaterra is not a good blocker, and they just don't use Cam Latu that much. So away we go. All right, we wrapped it up, the Eagles offense. Let's get into some positive stuff. The Eagles defense, Sam.
A lot of top 10 statistics here, a lot of top 5 statistics here. Yeah. They're 5th in EPA per play at minus 0.14, which is so interesting. Like we were talking about how there's just better defenses this year, but it's just such a staggering difference. They were minus 0.01 or 0.03. The offense, they were minus 0.03 on the offense. And that was ranked as the 13th best offense. And in defense, to be the 5th best defense, they're minus 0.14.
Crazy. And I bet if we had did like a halfway mark one compared to now, the numbers would obviously be not as good for the Eagles. They really it seemed like the 2 things that came together at the right time were the trade for Jalen Phillips. Well, I'll say the 3 things. Jalen Phillips trade at the same time. I think the next game or maybe that game, Nolan Smith came back from IR and Nakobe Dean coming back.
I'm so glad he's
playing at the level that he played at was just unbelievable.
Oh, and getting Brandon Graham to come out of retirement, and then somehow every time he touches the field, it turns to gold.
That is true. The Brandon Graham odometer that we do meter.
But yeah, no. And honestly, the strength of this team is their pass defense. It is 100% evident. They're 2nd in pass defense in EPA, and then 13th in EPA per rush. Right. So, I mean, their run defense is good, not great, but their pass defense is elite. It is elite. Yeah, it's incredible. So
I think the blitz percentage says it all, right?
Yeah, they're 32nd. They're the least likely team to blitz, and yet their sack percentage is 15th and their pressure percentage is 13th.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's got the Vic Fangio signature written all over it. Because it's funny, again, just to show you the difference. I remember writing a story for Philly Voice around October, like maybe week 5, week 6, and Vic's blitz percentage was in the upper 20s. It was high. It was for him. It was higher, and the upper 20s ranked. I think he was at like 14th highest in the NFL at one point, and at the end of the year, he's back down to the lowest.
Yeah, it's a Vic Fangio seal of approval for sure.
Right. So the Eagles led the NFL in average separation on defense, meaning when a receiver was targeted or a pass catcher was targeted, that on average they had the least amount of separation in the NFL.
Correct. Blanketed.
That's amazing. That's really awesome. For longtime Eagles fans who have grown accustomed to Eagles always having good pass rushing stats, but not great secondary stats, this is just unbelievable, right? I mean, it's just so long that the Eagles have had, let alone one, but two really good defensive backs, like
Absolutely.
all pro type.
It's very unusual. So, but it's cool. We're not going to complain.
No. What do you make of the run defense statistics being really so again, you always rank things on best to worst. So they are the 29th best run stuffing team, which means they're the third worst run stuffing team in the league.
Well, I think you can just look down one column and you'll see why. They run the least amount of stacked boxes and the most amount of light boxes.
Right.
And I think when you do that, you're committing to the pass more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna let up some yards in the run defense. And I think they're okay with that.
Right.
I think that it goes to, we want you to throw on us. That's the mentality, because you can't.
Right.
We're
very confident they can stop the run out of nickel.
But that's why this team, if their offense got together, they would be unstoppable.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They are really good at playing with the lead. They're really good at playing with the lead. They're not great when a team has the lead on them.
Right. And that's what I think, by the way, makes this matchup against the Niners. It just adds an extra layer of interesting subplot, because we all know that the Niners are historically awful when A, they trail, and B, if they're down by like a touchdown or more going into the fourth quarter, it's like an automatic loss. Kyle Shanahan's teams are built to play with the lead. So if the Eagles can score early, get ahead early, it's such a huge advantage for them. But also, to your point here, Sam, the 49ers will put a fullback on the field. They'll put two running backs. They'll put two tight ends. They will try to dictate Vic playing base defense and stack box, but he doesn't do it. So I'm very curious to see if Vic says, I don't care what personnel you're throwing out there, we're going to stay in nickel. That'll be very interesting.
The offense needs to do Fangio a favor and get points on the board, because
100%.
it'll open up the defensive playbook for Fangio, and he'll be able to actually do things he wants to do and he's comfortable with, that the personnel is comfortable with. I'm not saying they can't do it, because they can, and they will, and they have, and they should.
Right.
But to the same degree, the Eagles offense has to pull their weight. They have to.
100%. I agree with you. Great stuff. All right. Some notable defensive stats.
You're probably looking at this and saying, why is some of the text blue or purple-ish?
I was a little curious. I did maybe it's clickable or something, but no, it's not.
So I really wanted to differentiate when I was getting stats from different websites.
Mm-hmm.
I defer to PFF a lot of the time in sacks, and we've talked about this before. The NFL Pro statistics are better in almost every way, in my opinion. I love them. The things that they don't get right are they do nearest defender for passing stats, which I don't think is very reflective, because it doesn't take into account your actual responsibilities.
Right.
And I'm not saying PFF does a significantly better job at that, but it does do a better job in my mind. And then also sacks. PFF doesn't believe in half sacks, and I kind of agree with that. I do agree with that. I don't think half sacks should be a thing. I think which does artificially inflate the sack count. So like, for instance, Jalen Hunt, I think, is at 6.5 sacks on NFL Pro. But to me, like, I just don't, I think that's an antiquated way to look at sacks.
Okay.
I think if you caused a sack, you should be credited for the sack, even if it's just partially. And we've talked about this before, and I'm sure some people agree, most people probably disagree. That's fine. But I at least wanted to be consistent and objective, and, at least describe when I'm using different statistics. So that's why in this instance, there's some blue, purple text and some black text.
All right. Hey, I like it. I like you're just introducing what you hope to be as a less, I guess it's not the word biased, but, or at least a more clear way of looking at something. I like that.
Yeah. And so it's really more for the viewer and the listener than anyone else. For journalistic integrity, stuff like that. But Jalen Hunt led the team in sacks, 7. He led the team in quick quarterback pressures, 14. third on team in stops at 34, and led team in interceptions at 3. So your edge is leading your team in interceptions. It's an interesting statistic. If I told you this at the beginning of the season, I don't think you'd believe me. I really don't.
In the olden days, there'd be like a kangaroo court, right? And Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Adoree Jackson, they would have to like put money in a jar for losing out the interception lead to an edge player. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the old days. But it does speak to how good Jalen Hunt has been this year. He's been a year ahead of schedule since he got to the team.
Yeah.
Since he was a rotational player on a Super Bowl team last year who was productive.
Definitely.
Some people, when they drafted him, we thought maybe this year, by the end of this year, he would just start playing and see. And no, he's he's a starter. And good one.
This guy, he was a raw project, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole
right.
That's why he fell.
Yep.
But no, the former safety is he's doing all right.
Yeah.
Still got those ball skills.
Yep.
Carter, we could talk about for a while. But we'll just talk about some of the statistics. He's tied third in the NFL in batted passes. And so is Jordan Davis, by the way. They both are tied third in the NFL in batted passes at 6.
Yeah.
Carter is tied 16th in the NFL in turnovers caused by pressure at 2.
Oh, okay. Nice. So his pressure led to an interception or a fumble. All right. I like it.
And what's interesting is I believe there's another person on the team that also has that statistic. Yes, Jalen Phillips also is tied 16th in the NFL in turnovers caused by pressure.
Now, are those combined with his or just as an Eagle? Oh, okay.
Combined with the Miami time. Would be very much more impressive, I'd say, if it was just the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then Carter is also second on team in quick quarterback pressures at 13. Anything you want to say about Carter, or should we go to more?
Well, I think that the fact that he was tied for third in batted passes, which well, I won't go into the obvious, but he had 2 bum shoulders. I mean, so you got to get your arms up to bat these passes down, and he was dealing with shoulders, which he said at one time it was difficult to even do a push-up. So, pretty impressive there.
Very much so. All right, Moro Jomo, second on team in sacks, especially at interior defensive line. That's impressive.
Yeah, he's had a nice year. I don't think he's the run or as complete of a player as Milton Williams, but he's also a 6th-round pick, right? I mean, he's more than adequately filled that role that Milton Williams lost.
Yeah, I totally agree. Couldn't said it better myself. But who has really stepped up this year more than they were given credit at the beginning? Jordan Davis. Yeah. Again, tied third in the NFL in batted passes at 6, and then second on team in stops, 58, and 27th in the NFL.
Right. So stops is like your total of what? Tackles, sacks, like any play that is.
It results in a negative EPA. Any play that results in negative EPA.
Right. Tackles for loss, things like that. Good stuff. Nolan.
Third on team in win percentage. I really had to struggle to find statistics for Nolan Smith.
Yeah, I think he had a tough, he came back from the triceps injury from the Super Bowl. Then he re-aggravated it, missed a lot of time. He's come back. He's been in a rotation. I think he's played okay. He's done well, but he's not done anything, nothing like last year. The images you have are him basically putting out 2 Pro Bowl guards on pulls, right? The Elkton Jenkins and Trey Smith in the Super Bowl. He was really learning how to play not just with speed but power. I feel like maybe the injuries kind of just have not. I don't want to say stunted him. Just it's been tough to grow and develop and keep your strength up when you've been injured.
Yeah, 100%. So I agree with that.
And then Jalen Phillips,
9th in NFL in pressures at 73, 8th in NFL win percentage among qualified rushers, 18.8%. Tied 16th in the NFL in turnovers caused by pressure, which we've already talked about at 2.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a professional pass rusher. He's very good.
Yeah,
I do think, Sam, that ever since he's come aboard, because he's also played inside and nickel, I think the Eagles are stunting a whole lot more with their 4-man rush, which has been great because they have really good athletes. You want to do that when you have good long-armed athletes like him and a Jomo, and Brandon Graham has played inside. So I think it's been a little bit of a reason why Vic isn't blitzing as much and why the 4-man rush is not predictable. It's still causing problems for the offensive lines.
Sure, 100%.
Zach Bourne, as we move on to linebacker and secondary, he's had a really nice year. Now it probably doesn't jump out as much because he's not a secret anymore, but still pretty darn good.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he led the team in 3 statistics. He led the team in tackles at 123, led the team in stops at 68, which is 14th in the NFL, by the way. Led the team in coverage EPA, which was minus 31.3 on 57 targets. And then he was 7th in the NFL in hustle plays at 17.
What is the hustle play?
It's where you cover 20 plus yards in a play.
So, okay. So I think of the time he chased down, who's the running back that he chased down? Was it Gibbs or Montgomery in the Lions game? He chased down somebody on a long run down. Oh, first it was Miles Sanders, right?
That was the first one that came to my mind.
But then there was another one. There was another game where he chased somebody down, a really good running back, 20, 30 yards, and stopped them from scoring a touchdown, which is just unbelievable. I mean, that you just don't see that from guys his size.
No, you really don't. It's pretty impressive. It not just pretty impressive, it's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the play you're talking about really quick, but
you know what? It may have been. It wasn't in the Bears game. Was it?
Was it Kyron Williams?
No, it was later in the season. I want to say
because it looks like there was a. And that's never mind. Later in the season, you said, right?
Yeah, I just can't remember who it was. I honestly don't. Was it the? No, it wasn't the Command. Was it the Chargers? Yes. Wasn't it Vidal? Remember that?
Oh yes.
I think it was exactly Kamani Vidal, like on that little leak out to the left side, and he was running up the field. I think it was Baun who made the tackle on it.
I actually was looking at the wrong category, but I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it was the Chargers game where he chased somebody down that theoretically has a lot more speed than him.
But it says only a 6-yard gain on that hustle play, but it might be that one.
There was someone.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the one you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. But everybody remembers the Miles Sanders one too. That was a touchdown saver in the opener, right? That was
yes,
yeah. Now Nakobe Dean, getting on him, 4 sacks on 27 pass rushes. Are you kidding me? that's a great rate right there.
It's insane. 14.8% sack rate, 11 quarterback pressures, 40.7% pressure rate. I almost highlighted and underlined Nakobe Dean, like I did Quinyon Mitchell. I actually was going to do it for every category, but then I didn't. I was going to do Jalen Phillips for the defensive line, but a lot of the statistics were with the Dolphins, so I was just like, I'm just going to focus on the best player on the defense, which is Quinyon Mitchell. But if I had to pick a second, it's Nakobe Dean. As surprising as that sounds. He also led the team in get off at 0.79 seconds. We already talked about his tied 16th in NFL in turnovers caused by pressure. I didn't say he was tied for it, but he is tied for it as well. A lot of players are tied for it because it's 2.
Right.
And then he had a minus 12.3% completion rate over expectation on 24 targets.
Wow. Minus 12. That's amazing. So we did for the Philly Voice, we did like staff awards picks, and one of the categories was most surprising player. And I put Nakobe in because I just never thought he would come back from another lower body injury like that, a major surgery, patellar tendon, and I thought maybe he'd be like a little less than what he was, if not more, and he wound up being better than what he was last year. That to me was a shock. But great story for Nakobe.
He's going to get himself paid.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if the Eagles are going to be able to retain him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they've got Jahad Campbell waiting in the wings, and he played well when he was in there. Not the same, but certainly good enough when you put him next to Baun to really feel good. Plus Trotter, I think, played well in the season finale. I mean, you remember what I said about how long it's been since an Eagle fan, like of maybe my age, could remember when the Eagles had awesome, like 2 really great defensive backs? Well, you can double that for inside linebacker or off-ball linebacker.
Sure. Sure.
To not just have one, but like a whole group that have played well is pretty amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, and we'll finish it off here with the secondary.
I kind of want to save Quinyon last.
Okay, so let's go with the safeties.
Okay.
How about that? Because that's a pretty interesting stat.
I tried really hard to find a statistic.
That's a good one.
That it was so hard to find anything positive, surprisingly, about Reed specifically. Reed was just middle of the pack on every statistic, which is
right. There's
fine.
nothing negative, right? They just
Yeah.
haven't like stood out as like this is excellent.
But they led the team in defensive touchdowns at 3. So
I'm telling you, like the corners got to be really upset. They didn't have any interceptions, right? Compared to an edge run, and then they didn't have any defensive. Obviously, if you have no interceptions, you're not going to have any defensive touchdowns.
Yeah, it definitely makes it tougher for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a fun statistic if I had to find a good one. Adoree Jackson's another one that I honestly was surprising that his statistics have been so well. Like so basically you see why he ended up being the starter.
Yeah.
We don't have to get too much into it, but that corner depth is atrocious.
Oh boy, the season finale showed that. I mean, I think Adoree's almost made an argument to come back on a 1-year deal, you know?
I would re-sign him.
Yeah.
100%.
No, it's probably not going to happen. They didn't bring back Isaiah Rodgers for $8 million. So, I mean, but I don't know if Adoree has played so great that he's earned himself another, really lucrative 1-year deal somewhere else. So it may work out. You sign him. You may draft a corner in the first or second round and let him duke it out. Or you may eventually move Cooper there if you find a better nickel, if you keep Michael Carter or something. They got some options there.
Yeah, and I mean, Adoree Jackson was second on team in tight window percentage at 34.3%. He's making those receivers have to earn it, and you can't ask for too much more for where he is on the team.
Had some big breakups, I think, in the second half of the Lions game. After he gave up a few, he came back and made a few PBUs.
Yeah, he did very well for himself.
Yep.
And then let's talk about Cooper DeJean for a second.
Yes.
He led the team in hawk percentage.
Not Hawkeye percentage, right?
Just not. Okay. I mean, it might be Hawkeye percentage.
I mean, he is an Iowa guy, so.
Are you familiar with what the hawk percentage is?
Nope, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So it is any play that results in a turnover worthy play, or a pass breakup, or just interfering with the pass completion.
Okay.
So it's a pretty inclusive statistic.
Yes, very expansive.
You don't have to get the interception for it to count to this. You just have to interfere with the pass in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So that's what that measures, and that's 20.8%.
Pretty big. So that's on about a fourth of or a fifth of his plays. He's doing something really targets. I assume that you have to be targeted.
Yes.
He's either having a pick, a breakup, or interfering with the pass in a positive way, not a flag. So that's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah. And then besides Bond, he was the second most hustle player at 10.
Mm-hmm.
He was second on team in tackles at 85, and then fourth on team in stops, 32. And then he led the team in pass breakups, which you can see reflected in his hawk percentage.
Yeah. This is, again, why and most of this comes from the nickel spot, although I'm sure some of it also comes from outside in base. But I just wonder how Vic Fangio is going to, employ his defense against a Niners team that is going to formationally beg you to come out with your base defense, which would put DeJean on the outside. But he's just so effective at nickel that Vic may say, I don't care. I'm going to play nickel against your 21 personnel or your 12 or 13 personnel.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting matchup for that reason, for sure. Yeah. I don't disagree. Now,
all right. Now, Quinyon.
Last and certainly not least, probably in my mind, the most impactful player on the Philadelphia Eagles this season. I don't think that's hyperbolic to say.
Oh no, no. We did in the awards column that I was telling you about on Philly Voice. We had to pick a team MVP, and that's that's almost always a quarterback award, right? It wasn't even an offensive player for us. I think all of us picked Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, do you remember when we saw him at the Senior Bowl against Roman Wilson? Those reps, because he shut himself down after that day.
Yep.
But we just looked at each other and we're like, that he's going to be special.
I would not have predicted he would have made it to the Eagles at 22 after that.
Me neither. It was honestly, I mean, he locked up Ladd McConkey too. It was a really great showing. And like we said, we didn't expect him to be an Eagle. We knew he was going to be great wherever he ended up. But it felt like kind of more like a pipe dream that the Eagles would land him.
Right. And
let's see how that translated in his second year. He led the Eagles secondary in reception percentage allowed, 43.9%. With that being said, that's second in the NFL. The only one that was ahead of him was James Pierre, who was targeted 33 times. Now, let's look at how many times let's look at how many times Quinion Mitchell got targeted, which was 82. 82 times versus 33.
That's crazy. Yeah, because James Pierre was a backup who basically replaced Slay in Pittsburgh when they decided to move on from Slay.
So almost 50 more targets and allowing on like 43%, 44% versus 42%. Like,
right.
It
like
is,
there's no way if Pierre was targeted 80 times, he would
correct.
have that good of a percentage. I agree.
There's no way if anybody in the entire NFL was targeted 82 times, they would allow 44%. I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Nope. And 0 passing touchdowns on 82 targets. Unbelievable.
And it's the first in the NFL. He's the most targeted player to allow 0 touchdowns. And no one was close.
That's crazy. No I can't even think of one, right? Like where he almost like a guy dropped the pass. I mean, he shut everybody down.
Second on team in pass breakups at 7. He led team in average separation when targeted, which again means it's the lowest statistic at 1.8, which was 9th in the NFL. And then he led the team in tight window percentage at 41.2. Remember, Adoree Jackson was second at 34.3. Quinion Mitchell was number 1 at 41.2. That's a huge difference.
MVP of the team, Sam.
Yeah, I don't think it for sure. It's not close.
Hey, it's that time of the year that everyone's trying to clean up their habits, and that includes me. Honestly, having one less drink never felt easier. Instead of pouring a cocktail, I just reach for Sol's out-of-office drinks. It's the same relaxing vibe, but 0 alcohol, 0 hangover. I still wake up feeling like a functional adult. I can get to the gym. I can do whatever I have to do throughout the day without feeling worn down or dragged down that alcohol can make you feel. Sol, what I appreciate about them is it makes feeling good simple with their delicious hemp-derived CBD and THC products with precise dosing, clean ingredients, and formulations designed for predictable feel-good effects. Sol is the alcohol alternative that puts you in control of your mood. You got to try their best-selling out-of-office gummies that deliver a customizable calming buzz. All right, so give yourself the gift of a healthier unwind right now. Sol is offering our audience 30% off their entire order. Go to getsol.com and use the code BIRDS, BIRDS. That's getsol.com, promo code BIRDS for 30% off. Hey, it's Geoff Mosher. Quick question for you. If you could stop somebody from breaking into your home before they got inside, why wouldn't you? That's why I've got Simply Safe, the best home alarm system, so much better than those old school systems that go after somebody that's already in your place when it's way too late. Simply Safe is different, proactive, and you get a double layer of defense that stops crimes before they start. They've got AI-powered cameras that spot potential threats outside, and then live agents step in. They talk to the person through the camera to let them know they're on video, and police will be dispatched if they don't leave. You can get Simply Safe with no long-term contracts or hidden fees, and you can cancel at any time. They were named the best home security systems by U.S. News and World Report for 5 years running. This is why I feel so safe when my wife and children are at home, because I have Simply Safe. It is simply the best option out there for home alarm systems. And this month only, take 50% off any new system. This is one of the best prices you'll see ever for Simply Safe. Don't miss it. Hit simplysafe.com/birds. Again, that's simplysafe.com/birds and lock in your discount. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting. And they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you know you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think that there's a number 2 on that. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell has been. If you didn't have if you did the whole WAR thing, like does football have a WAR?
They do, but it's not really widely
Not the
accepted.
same way as baseball, right?
Yeah.
But if you had Adoree Jackson opposite Adoree Jackson in the Eagles secondary instead of Quinyon Mitchell, not happening. Not good. Not good at all. So
and
Adoree played well, but I'm saying, Greg Cosell points this out all the time. When you see like an offense come out with like trips to the right or bunch from where there's more receivers on one side of the field and the Eagles are in too high, that second safety who's usually on Quinyon's side, he still rolls toward the trip side. So they basically leave Mitchell alone like it's zero coverage even when they're playing too high. And he just handles it.
He can handle it so well.
He just handles it.
But back to your point, why that statistic, why WAR is important. So like what that actually means is wins above replacement. In basketball, they have something VORP, value, a value over replacement player. Regardless, what it's saying is if you took an average player at that position, how much better does this player elevate over the replacement player? Or that's really what it is. And if it was in football, Quinyon Mitchell would be significantly valued over a replacement player. And the replacement player in our example was Adoree Jackson because that is a replacement player for most circumstances. So what he said, by making that point, what you're saying is Quinyon Mitchell elevates so much more than any other position over a replacement player.
Right. Yeah, if he were to get hurt, unfortunately, I don't even want to think about that. But I don't like to discuss like potential of injury, but it would be devastating for the Eagles. Absolutely,
no doubt.
Sam, great job, man! Awesome season wrap. We will do it again after this Eagles 49ers game, and hopefully it won't be our last one of the year. We'll see what happens. You have a prediction?
Oh, okay.
I've never put you on the spot like this before.
No, you haven't. I think it's going to be a very gritty game. I think it's going to be close. I don't see this game. I think the Eagles probably win. I think that they're built better as a team. I think they're a healthier team. And I think, there's some argument that maybe resting the players was a good idea in that regard. The 49ers have dealt with injuries all year. And they've persevered through, inconsistent roster. Like the team that they put out each week has been different and they persevered, but I don't see them winning. But at the same time, if the Eagles offense doesn't figure it out, the Eagles will lose this game. So I think it really depends on which offense shows up.
All right. So that's not a prediction. I didn't hear a prediction there. You don't have to give me a score. Who's going to win?
Philadelphia Eagles will win this game.
All right. Cool. I can't give it on this show because I save mine for the pregame show. But I will say this, to your point exactly. I haven't looked lately at what the over/under total is, but I feel like if this game, the Eagles will probably win this game if the total score between the two teams is under 40, like a 23-13 type thing.
The over/under is 44.5.
Okay, if it's the under, I think the Eagles will clearly win. If it gets over and they're not stopping the 49ers from scoring, I think that obviously the 49ers would win in a higher scoring game.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. The NFL Pro gives me a lot of these advanced stats on it. The Eagles points per game, 22.3, Niners 25.7, point differential plus 54 for the Eagles, plus 66 for the Niners. That's 10th and 9th respectively. Records in close games, the Eagles are much better. 8-4, Niners are 5-1. I guess not much better. Average margin of victory, 8.8 Eagles, 9.9 Niners. Turnover differential, plus 6 as the Eagles we talked about, which is 7th in the league, and minus 6 for the Niners.
Yeah.
And then the Eagles are in penalties, have way more penalties. They have 34 more penalties.
So weird. There's so many stats that make you think one way and then the other way, right? Like, turnovers like that, man. The 49ers got penalties. Yeah. Eagles basically shoot themselves in the foot as much as any team in the league. So
in so many ways, But I think it'll be really interesting. The NFL Pro gives the matchup advantage to the Eagles in 4 of the 6 categories. In passing, rushing, I guess it's just passing offense, rushing offense, passing defense, and then rushing defense, and then pressure rate on defense.
Well, Sam, it's going to be a great game. I think it'll be a really fascinating game. Look forward to it. And again, look forward to us doing this again next week.
No doubt.
Sam Finkel, I'm Geoff Mosher. You've been watching Inside the Data on Inside the Birds.